Hey everyone, it's Mark! And I know it's been a while since you've heard me say that. I haven't posted an episode review for Pokémon Horizons since episode 60, and I'll talk more about that at the end of this video. For now, it's time for the big catch-up that everyone's been waiting for. There's no way I can do 36 full-length reviews and cover each of these episodes in detail, so instead I'm just gonna fly through all of them along with giving them each a rating. Okay, we're going way back to the Terrestrial debut chapter to talk about episode 61. Roy's first battle with Rhyme was just fine, and I was glad to see Roy lose because I had been waiting for our heroes to finally have to overcome some obstacles for a change. I gave this episode a 7 out of 10. The next episode saw Roy get his win back and pass his implementation test, or usage test in the dub, I guess. It was a fun battle, and we also learned a ton about Roy's backstory, which was cool as well. 8.5 out of 10. It was Liko's turn next, and she got crushed in her battle against Grusha. I really enjoyed the storytelling here along with Grusha's characterization, although the battle itself was a little underwhelming, so only a 6.5 rating from me. I loved the next episode, which saw the Explorers show up for the first time in a while. The interactions between Liko, Amethio, and Spinel were all great and set up some real jeopardy for our heroes. I actually enjoyed this so much that I gave it a 9 out of 10. Unfortunately, I didn't think the following episode lived up to that high standard. Seeing Liko and Amethio work together was cool, but this episode was just okay, and in my opinion got overshadowed by all the new information we learned about the next chapter. 6.5 out of 10. We got more Rising Voltacklers versus Explorers conflict in the next episode when Kalse, Sandwich, and Sidian infiltrated Naranja Academy. Our heroes showed off their new skills, and Liko even got Grusha to overturn his ruling of Liko failing her usage test, so I was pretty satisfied with this episode and gave it a 7 out of 10. The last episode of the chapter saw Roy and Liko face off against one another in probably the best battle in all of Horizons so far. I was really entertained by this one, and seeing Roy Suicune evolve to give their team the victory was well executed. 8.5 out of 10. With the Terrestrial debut chapter brought to a close, it ended up with an average rating of 7.05, so I thought it was really solid overall. Next was the Rayquaza Rising chapter, and episode 68 was really just a link from one storyline to another. There were some cool moments, but I didn't feel like giving this episode higher than a 6. Our heroes went to Kitakami next, and a rather silly episode about Roy and Crocalor switching bodies was, well, silly. I liked it enough to give it a 6. Finally, a dot-focused episode, now that I can get behind. Tinkatink's evolution episode was somewhat straightforward, but I still loved it. Maybe giving it a 7 out of 10 is too low. The next one was all about Briar and the Crystal Pool, which introduced a few new plot points but wasn't exactly that memorable. I'll give it a 6.5. For some reason, one of the 6 heroes happened to be in Kitakami, so episode 72 was all about our heroes tracking down Kleavor. This was definitely one of the episodes of all time, so I gave it a 6. Once Kleavor finally showed itself, things got pretty interesting. There was some nice battling here, and we learned more about Terravagos' memories too, an easy 8 out of 10. I gave the next episode an 8 out of 10 as well, even though it was a pretty dialogue-heavy episode. That's not a bad thing in my book though, plus we did get some good action and Liko's surprise upset victory over Diana, which I really didn't expect to happen. Oh, and we learned right at the end that Liko is a descendant of Lucius, which was the first bingo tile we scratched off for a while. Episode 75 was a weird one, to say the least. Our heroes communed with the dead via the Crystal Pool, as Ristel told her descendants the story of the original 3 explorers, herself, Lucius, and Gibeon. These 3 friends split up after Gibeon tried to steal the Laquium, and oh yeah, Liko officially caught Terravagos in this episode, which was another bingo tile. Still only good enough for a 6.5 rating from me. The next episode was one of my least favorite out of all the ones I'm talking about in this video, as the Rising Voltacklers reunited with one of their former members in hopes that he would have some information on Entei. He did, but this episode was kind of meh, so I give it a 5.5. The next episode was the first Ludlow-focused episode in a long time, and it did not disappoint. I guess humor is pretty subjective, so that explains why the previous episode's ridiculousness didn't really jive with me, but I did give the return of the Mighty G a 7 out of 10. Episode 78 is maybe the episode that I wish I could have done a full review on the most. Probably my hottest take in this entire video is that I didn't really like this episode. I gave it a 5 out of 10 for how trivial it made the appearance of the legendary beast feel. I have way more thoughts on this one, but now's not the time. One of the things I didn't like about the previous episode was how quickly the Rising Voltacklers got a lead on another Entei potentially being in Area 0, and in order for our heroes to travel there, they first needed to prove their strength to Gita, the top champion. This was a polarizing episode because Liko ended up knocking out Gita's ace Clamora, but I liked it, so I gave it a 7.5 out of 10. Our heroes going to Area 0 was something on my bingo card, but I did not have a tile about one of the explorers catching a Paradox Pokemon. Hopefully Sandwich and her new friend get along. I gave this episode a 7. Turns out that Entei of the 6 heroes was actually a gouging fire, which felt kind of lazy writing in my opinion, but who cares, because this raid battle was really good. I gave it an 8.5 out of 10. The next episode was even better though, because our heroes immediately got locked into a battle against Rayquaza. I did not expect this collision to happen so soon, but it was awesome. Seeing Roy finally earn the respect of the Black Rayquaza was so cool, and once again checked off another bingo tile. I gave this episode a 9.5 out of 10, which was the highest I had rated any Horizons episode up until that point. Well, after all that action, it was only natural that we slowed things down and got some more exposition. Learning about Amethio's backstory was cool. Things were really starting to ramp up at this point on our way to Laqua. 7 out of 10. On Our Way to Laqua probably would have worked as the title for episode 84, as our hero scaled Komori Mountain with the help of the 6 heroes. Nothing too special here, so I only gave it a 6. But at long last, we have finally arrived at Laqua, the ancient paradise that we've been seeking for so long. This episode was like the calm before the storm, and it was interesting enough for me to give it a 7.5 rating. The next episode exploded into action, as it turns out that the explorer's secret base was hidden in Komori Town this entire time. They always knew where Laqua was, and they're not going to let the Rising Voltacklers get in their way. Lots of entertaining battling in this one, easily worth an 8 out of 10. Things slowed down a little in the next episode, but that doesn't mean I enjoyed it any less. We got a ton of dialogue here, along with the reveal of Lucius surviving inside the Loquium, as well as Gibeon making his last stand against our heroes. Let's bump this rating up to a 9 out of 10. With the stage set, it was time for one final clash against Zygarde, which more than lived up to the hype. Scratch off another bingo tile for Amethio fully betraying his grandfather, but it was Liko who ended up saving the day, as Floragato evolved into Meowscarada, another bingo tile, and they earned the respect of the white Zygarde. It really took me this long to realize that Lucius had the black Rayquaza while Gibeon had the white Zygarde. Anyways, another 9.5 out of 10 in my opinion. Just a fantastic episode. This story isn't done though. In fact, it's really only just getting started. After Lucius and Gibeon pass away, Spinel goes full Dementio on everyone and tries to take over for himself. He manages to cause the 6 heroes to go on a rampage, forcing the Rising Voltacklers to flee from Laqua in order to save their lives. It's unclear if they actually succeeded in saving their lives, as Freed and Charizard seemingly plummeted to their demise. Quite the ending to this chapter of the story, as we even got to see the first time skip in Pokémon Anime history take place. I'll give this one a 9 out of 10 rating. That brings my average for the Rayquaza Rising chapter up to 7.27, which is just incredibly strong. I love this string of episodes, and honestly, I was really annoyed at the way it all seemingly got overshadowed by the news of the upcoming time skip. That time skip has come and gone though. We're a year into the future and a lot has changed. Episodes 90 and 91 were aired as a 1-hour special in Japan, and we learned about Spinel taking over Exceed, how he framed the Rising Voltacklers, and how this caused our heroes to split up and go their own ways. Roy and his new friend both gained the ability to use Mega Evolution, which checks off yet another bingo tile, while Liko went back to studying at the Indigo Academy. For episode 90, I gave it a 6.5 out of 10. The second half of this 2-hour special saw Roy pull Liko out of a funk and convince her to go traveling the world again, because it was time the two of them showed everyone who the Rising Voltacklers really are. Solid stuff, so I gave episode 91 an 8 out of 10. Our hero's new journey features a ton of run-ins with this phenomena Dot is calling Loquium signs, aka the pink mist that causes Pokemon to go on a rampage. This episode proved that our heroes can handle these powerful foes, but it wasn't exactly groundbreaking or anything, so I gave it a 6.5. When Liko and Roy aren't discovering Loquium signs, they're fighting back against Exceed's propaganda campaign against the Rising Voltacklers. They won over at least one person in episode 93 as they convinced Nidothing's second biggest fan that they were good people. I say second biggest fan because we all know who Nidothing's biggest fan is, and that person gave this episode a 6 out of 10. Another 6 rating was on the cards in the next episode, which saw the return of Molly. She didn't fully rejoin the group, but that will happen eventually. I was surprised to see Liko terrestrialize her Hatchrim in this episode, and the battle itself was unique enough to keep this episode from feeling stale. It was time for the Explorers to show back up though, and it turns out they're trying to market these strong spheres that use Loquium to power a Pokemon mid-battle, kinda like Mega Evolution. I'm not buying it, but this was a fun way to push the plot forward, so I gave this episode a 7. And finally, the latest episode was actually focused on our newest hero, Alt, or is it Urto? I don't know, in like 4 months or so we'll learn his dub name, and that's definitely what I'll end up calling him. I'll just use Alt for now since that's way easier for me to pronounce, and I'm really curious to see how his character develops throughout this story. Oh yeah, I was blown away by the sight of the Black Rayquaza. I did not expect to see this thing so soon. Add an extra half point for shock value, and that makes this episode's rating a 6.5 out of 10. Alright, that's every episode I needed to catch up on. My average for all 36 episodes that I just recapped was 7.21, which is really strong. My overall average for Pokémon Horizons through the first 96 episodes is 7.05, and I think the series has been consistently entertaining and exciting. I'm excited to see where we go from here, and hopefully you'll get to hear a lot more of my thoughts along the way. That's right, I don't plan on going on another massive hiatus after posting this video. I didn't really plan on going on hiatus before either, it just kinda happened that way. I don't have any shocking revelations to make here. The real reason why I stopped posting videos was due to a variety of factors, none of which are that extraordinary. First of all, and I've said this plenty of times before, but I just don't have as much free time as I used to. Since I've always considered YouTube to be a hobby, that means the only time I can dedicate to it is my free time, and a lot of that goes away once you become an actual adult and have to work a full-time job and all that. I'm much more conscientious about how I spend my free time nowadays, and it was an easy decision for me to push YouTube to the side for a bit because I was starting to get burnt out from it. I had a much stronger desire to play video games and watch YouTube videos instead of making videos myself, so that's mostly what I've been up to. However, it seems the stars have aligned once again for Elite Trainer Mark to make his return. Not only are my work responsibilities slowing down again as we transition into summertime, but I am also feeling motivated to work on YouTube videos for the first time in a while. I've played a ton of video games lately, but I'm ready to take a break on that. And the anime has been so good lately, I want to talk about it again. I want to know what others are thinking about each of these episodes, and I want to be Elite Trainer Mark once again. I didn't for a while, to be honest. I just wanted to be a regular fan, but now I'm back. But an absolutely tremendous question is for how long will I be back? And to be honest, I don't know the answer to that. What I do know is that on August 27th, I'm flying to Paris to go on vacation, and once I get back, my job is going to get busier again with school starting back up. I think one of my goals, and maybe I should phrase it as one of our goals as the ETM community, is to figure out what I should do going forward. I think inevitably we're going to get to a point again where I can't make a new episode review every week, and I don't like having episodes stack up on one another because if I want to do a review for them, I want to do it properly, and I just don't have the time required to make 10 to 15 minute long reviews each week. So, what should I do? I don't know, but maybe over the next few months we can figure something out. For now, I'm just glad to be back, and I hope you all are excited as well. You can show me how excited you are by hitting that like button because, oh boy, I do not expect the YouTube algorithm to be kind to me after taking so long off. So, every bit helps. Liking, subscribing, telling your friends that Elite Trainer Mark is back, whatever it takes. Unbelievably, I still have some channel members after not posting for 9 months. You all are insane, and I love you for it. But with all of that out of the way, I have nothing else to say. For now. I'll have a lot to say about the Pokémon anime in the near future, so stay tuned for that. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.